Parents threw me away like garbage when I was 7 to focus on their new baby. Now they're desperately calling because their perfect daughter is ruining their lives and humiliating them in public. I received a call from my biological parents last week that left me questioning everything. They abandoned me when I was 7 years old, and now they want me back in their lives because their perfect daughter turned out to be not so perfect. For context, my early childhood was a blur of cold shoulders and empty rooms. My parents were in their early 20s when they had me. My dad worked at a law firm while my mom was finishing her master's degree. I don't have many memories of them smiling at me or playing with me. Most of what I remember is their backs as they walked away to do something more important. At home, I was an afterthought. My lunch would sometimes be forgotten. My school projects remained unfinished, and my questions went unanswered. But at family gatherings or when their friends came over, everything changed. My mom would fix my hair, put me in nice clothes, and pretend we were the perfect little family. My dad would throw a ball with me in the yard, asking about school loud enough for the neighbors to hear. It was all a show. I once told my grandma that my parents never talked to me at home. That night, I heard my parents arguing in the kitchen. The next day, my father sat me down and explained that family business stays within our walls. If I ever told anyone about our home life again, there would be serious consequences. By first grade, I was struggling. My teacher sent notes home about my declining grades and behavior issues. I had trouble sitting still, often forgot my homework, and got into fights with other kids. The notes were met with yelling at home. No questions about why I was acting out, just punishment. My dad took away my toys, and my mom made me stand in the corner for hours. After a few months of this, I realized that misbehaving was the only way to get my parents to acknowledge me. Being good got me nothing. Being bad at least got me something. So I doubled down. I knocked over displays at stores, talked back to teachers, and refused to do my work. It wasn't that I wanted to be bad, I just wanted them to see me. Around my 7th birthday, we had a small party at home, just my parents and me. No other kids, no relatives. In the middle of opening my 3 presents, my mom suddenly announced she was pregnant. My father's face lit up in a way I had never seen before. They hugged and completely forgot I was sitting there with half-unwrapped gifts. That was the first time I'd ever seen them truly happy about anything family-related. 3 weeks later, I came home from school to find my mom packing my clothes into a suitcase. When I asked what was happening, she didn't answer. My dad came in later and told me I was going to live with Aunt Patricia, my mom's older sister who lived several hours up the coast. He explained that I wasn't thriving in their home, and they wanted what was best for me. I begged them to let me stay. I promised to be better, to be quiet, to get good grades. I clung to my dad's leg as he tried to walk away. I screamed until my throat hurt. My mom never looked at me. She just continued folding my clothes as if I wasn't even there. The next day, we drove to Aunt Patricia's house. I tried every bargaining technique a 7-year-old could think of. I promised to eat all my vegetables. I promised to never ask for toys. I promised to be invisible if that's what they wanted. Nothing worked. They had made their decision. Aunt Patricia owned a small bed and breakfast by the coast. She was unmarried with no children of her own. She greeted me with a warm hug and showed me to a room decorated with seashells and a blue bedspread. My parents stayed for 2 days, helping me settle in, though they spent most of the time chatting with Aunt Patricia in the kitchen while I sat alone in my new room. When they finally left, something in me broke. I spent the next 3 weeks barely eating, barely sleeping. Aunt Patricia would sit next to my bed for hours, telling me stories about the ocean or the guests who stayed at her B&B. She never pushed me to talk or to feel better. She was just there. Aunt Patricia tried to arrange phone calls with my parents, but they rarely answered. When they did, the conversations were short and awkward. They asked about my grades, but never about how I was feeling. After a few months, the calls stopped completely. Something strange happened as time passed. I realized I didn't miss my parents. Life with Aunt Patricia was calm and predictable. She asked me about my day and actually listened to my answers. She helped me with homework without sighing or checking her watch. She put my drawings on the refrigerator and bragged about me to her guests. I started helping around the B&B, carrying towels to rooms and setting the table for breakfast. Aunt Patricia paid me a small allowance, which made me feel grown up and responsible. At school, I made friends easily. My teachers sent home notes praising my improvement. I didn't feel the need to act out anymore. After living with Aunt Patricia for about 6 months, I finally told her the truth about my time with my parents. I explained how they ignored me at home, but pretended to be perfect parents in public. I told her about the corner punishments and the threats to keep quiet. I thanked her for saving me. Aunt Patricia cried that night, which confused me because I thought I was telling her good news, that I was happy with her. The next time my parents called, one of the rare times they did, I noticed Aunt Patricia's voice was colder, her answers shorter. She became protective of me in a way I had never experienced before. Over the next 12 years, I saw my parents only at major family events like weddings or funerals. We exchanged pleasantries, but nothing more. I learned I had a sister named Miranda, who was now around 11 years old. We never developed a relationship. Family gossip suggested Miranda was having behavior problems, talking back to teachers, being rude to adults, getting into trouble at school. I'm now 19 and attending college near Aunt Patricia's home, studying hospitality management with plans to take over her business someday. I still visit her on weekends, helping with the B&B and learning the financial side of things. Last weekend, while I was visiting Aunt Patricia, my parents called her house phone. They don't have my number, and I prefer it that way. Aunt Patricia answered, then passed the phone to me with a look of concern on her face. The conversation started with awkward small talk. They asked about college and congratulated me on my grades. Then, my father cleared his throat and said they wanted another chance. They suggested I reconnect reconnect with them and possibly move back home after college graduation. I asked why now, after 12 years of near silence. That's when my mother admitted the truth. Miranda was becoming a problem child and causing them social embarrassment. They wanted me back as their success story to show off to friends and family. I immediately refused. I told them I wouldn't be used as a pawn in their social games. I reminded them that my life improved dramatically after I left their care. I gave all credit to Aunt Patricia, making it clear she was the one who raised me, not them. My father got defensive and brought up the monthly checks they sent to Aunt Patricia for my care. I laughed and told him the amount barely covered my basic needs. Aunt Patricia supplemented it from her own savings to give me a decent life. Their contribution was the bare minimum required by law, nothing more. My mother then called Miranda a failure and demanded I help them as their son. That was the breaking point. I told them they weren't my family in any meaningful sense of the word. Aunt Patricia was my family. I told them to leave us both alone. So, am I the a-hole for telling my biological parents they're not my real family after they abandoned me and now want me back to improve their image? Update 1. It's been a week since I posted, and I want to thank everyone for their supportive comments. The overwhelming consensus seems to be that I'm NTA, which honestly helps validate what I've been feeling. Since my last post, my parents haven't stopped trying to contact me. They've been calling and texting from new numbers and creating new social media accounts after I block each one. Their messages range from guilt trips about tearing the family apart to demands that I apologize for my disrespectful behavior. I've ignored all of them. I talked to Aunt Patricia about the situation last night. She agreed with my decision to cut contact and shared some information she learned from other family members. Apparently, Miranda was caught shoplifting at a local mall last month. When confronted by security, she threw a massive tantrum in front of several of my parents' friends who happened to be shopping there that day. To make matters worse, this incident occurred just days before Miranda's 11th birthday party. During the party, two of my mother's sisters questioned my parents' discipline methods in front of other guests. They suggested that my parents had spoiled Miranda rotten while simultaneously failing to set proper boundaries. This public criticism seems to be what pushed my parents to reconnect with me. They're desperate to counter accusations of failed parenting, Aunt Patricia also revealed. Something I never knew. When my parents first sent me to live with her, many family members expressed disapproval. They felt my parents were taking the easy way out instead of addressing my behavioral issues. However, my parents managed to spin the story, claiming they made the difficult decision to send me to Aunt Patricia because her quiet coastal town would be better for my special needs. Needs I apparently didn't have once I was in a stable environment. The more I learn about my parents' manipulation, the more certain I am about my decision to keep them out of my life. I actually feel sorry for Miranda. Our parents failed both of us, just in different ways. They neglected me until I became inconvenient, then shipped me off. With Miranda, they seem to have swung to the opposite extreme, overindulgence combined with emotional neglect when she doesn't fit their perfect image. I find it disturbing that they're already labeling Miranda a failure at 11 years old. She's still a child trying to navigate a complicated home environment. Her acting out is probably serving the same purpose mine did, getting attention from parents who only care when it affects how others see them. Some family members have reached out to ask why I won't help my parents with Miranda. They don't understand that my parents don't want actual help. They just want a prop to display. If they truly wanted assistance with Miranda's behavior, they'd seek professional guidance, not drag back the son they abandoned 12 years ago. Yesterday, I received a long email from my father explaining how much they've grown as parents since sending me away. He claimed they realized their mistakes with me and did better with Miranda. If that's true, why is Miranda exhibiting the same kinds of behaviors I did? And why are they calling her a failure instead of recognizing her actions as cries for help? I've decided that if they contact me again with more guilt trips, I won't hold back. I'll tell them exactly what I think of their parenting, both with me and with Miranda. I know confrontation isn't always the answer, but sometimes people need to hear the unfiltered truth. In brighter news, I've been excelling in my hospitality management program. One of my professors recommended me for an internship at a luxury resort next summer. The experience will be valuable when I eventually take over Aunt Patricia's business. She's already started teaching me about property taxes, insurance, and the financial aspects of running a B&B. Aunt Patricia continues to be my rock through all this. Last night, she pulled out old photo albums showing my transformation after moving in with her. In the earliest pictures, taken during my first weeks at the B&B, I looked withdrawn and small. My eyes were always down, my shoulders hunched. As the albums progressed, I could see myself standing taller, smiling more, looking directly at the camera. By the time I reached high school, I was unrecognizable from that scared 7-year-old. I asked Aunt Patricia why she took me in without question. She explained that she always wanted children but never found the right partner. When my parents called about sending me to her, she jumped at the chance. She admitted she had no idea about the neglect I'd experienced until I opened up months later. By then, she had already fallen in love with being my guardian and couldn't imagine life without me. I'll update again if anything significant happens with my parents. For now, I'm focusing on school and helping Aunt Patricia prepare the B&B for the upcoming tourist season. Update 2. Things have escalated dramatically since my last update. My parents called from yet another new number last week, and I finally snapped. I was already stressed from midterm exams and lack of sleep when the call came. When I heard my father's voice demanding I apologize for my disrespect, something inside me broke. I started yelling, really yelling, For the first time in years, I told them they earned no title as parents. I made it clear that Aunt Patricia was my family, the person who attended every school play, helped with every project, and celebrated every accomplishment. I reminded them that their monthly support checks were barely enough to cover basic necessities, while Aunt Patricia dipped into her retirement savings to give me a good life. I pointed out that they failed Miranda the same way they failed me, just differently. While they neglected me entirely, they apparently spoiled Miranda without providing discipline or emotional support. I told them they were the real failures, not me, not Miranda. My mother tried to defend themselves, claiming Miranda's shoplifting was a one-off incident that didn't reflect their parenting. I laughed and asked if they remembered my behavioral issues that mysteriously disappeared as soon as I moved in with someone who actually parented me. That's when I hit them with what I believe is the truth. They don't care about being good parents. They only care about appearing to be good parents. Their entire relationship with both their children has been about maintaining their social image. This triggered something in them. They started screaming insults about how ungrateful I was, how they sacrificed so much for me. The conversation ended with my father shouting that they were glad they sent me away because I wasn't good enough, and they happily chose Miranda over me. After they hung up, I expected to feel upset or angry. Instead, I felt nothing. Their words couldn't hurt me anymore. Their final outburst only proved my point. They lashed out when confronted with truths they couldn't refute. I do regret one thing. I wish I could help Miranda. She's stuck in that house with parents who care more about appearances than her well-being. At 11 years old, she's already being written off as a problem instead of receiving the support she needs. Aunt Patricia suggested that my confronting my parents might actually benefit Miranda in the long run. Now that I've called them out directly, they might realize they're following the same destructive pattern with her. It's a slim hope, but it's something. In an unexpected development, my father's parents, grandparents I rarely saw even before being sent away, reached out to me. They've been hearing bits and pieces of the situation from various family members and wanted to hear my side directly. We've arranged to meet for lunch next week. I'm nervous, but also curious to hear their perspective. The confrontation with my parents seems to have rippled through the extended family. According to Aunt Patricia, people are starting to question the narrative my parents have been spinning for years. The timing of their reaching out to me right after Miranda's shoplifting incident didn't go unnoticed. I don't take pleasure in their social discomfort, but there's a certain justice in the truth finally coming to light. They spent years crafting an image of themselves as selfless parents who made a difficult choice for my benefit. Now that facade is crumbling, and they're facing the consequences of their actions. For now, I'm focusing on finishing the semester strong and helping Aunt Patricia prepare for the summer tourist season. Her B&B is booked solid from June through August, and we've been updating the website and reservation system to handle the increased traffic. I've also been thinking about my future more concretely. While I still plan to take over Aunt Patricia's business eventually, I'm considering expanding it. The property next door went up for sale recently, and we've discussed the possibility of purchasing it to add more rooms or possibly a small restaurant. As for my relationship with my parents, I believe that chapter of my life is closed for good. Their final words made their feelings clear, and I have no interest in subjecting myself to more of their manipulation and emotional abuse. I'll update again after meeting with my grandparents, or if there are any significant developments with Miranda. Update 3. It's been 2 months since my last update, and so much has changed that I hardly know where to begin. After my heated confrontation with my parents, they finally stopped trying to contact me. According to family gossip, they've been struggling to convince relatives that Miranda's shoplifting was just a one-time thing. Several teachers from her school have called about her disruptive behavior in class, which has made it difficult for my parents to maintain their perfect family narrative. The most significant development involves Aunt Patricia. After 12 years of keeping relatively quiet about why I came to live with her, she finally started telling family members the truth. She revealed that my parents essentially discarded me because they didn't want me anymore after conceiving Miranda. She explained how my behavioral issues magically resolved within months of moving in with her, suggesting they were reactions to neglect rather than inherent problems. This revelation spread quickly through the family. Combined with my parents' current struggles with Miranda and their defensive reactions when questioned, it created a significant shift in how relatives view them. Many family members who previously believed my parents' version of events have reached out to apologize for not seeing the truth sooner. My lunch with my grandparents, my father's parents, turned into a 3-hour conversation. They admitted they had suspicions about my parents' treatment of me, but never felt they had enough evidence to intervene. After hearing my first-hand account of my childhood and seeing how I thrived with Aunt Patricia, they expressed deep regret for not taking action sooner. What happened next surprised everyone. My grandparents, concerned about history repeating itself with Miranda, decided to petition for temporary custody. They gathered evidence from multiple sources: my story, Aunt Patricia's observations, reports from Miranda's teachers, and accounts from other family members who witnessed concerning interactions between Miranda and our parents. The judge granted them temporary custody, pending a full hearing. Miranda moved in with them last month. According to my grandparents, she seemed numb at first, but has slowly begun to adapt to their more structured environment. They're pursuing permanent custody with visitation rights for my parents. The most unexpected outcome of all this has been my relationship with Miranda. Shortly after moving in with our grandparents, she reached out to me through their phone. She told me our parents had always forbidden her from contacting me, telling her I was a bad influence who would corrupt her. We We've talked several times now, and I'm cautiously optimistic about building a relationship with her. She's understandably confused and hurt by recent events, but she seems genuinely interested in getting to know me. I've been careful not to badmouth our parents directly, but I've been honest about my experience when she asks specific questions. Aunt Patricia has invited Miranda to visit the B&B for a weekend next month. Our grandparents are supportive of this plan, thinking it might help Miranda see that there are different types of family structures and relationships. I'm both nervous and excited about spending time with my sister in the place that became my true home. As for my parents, they've become increasingly isolated within the family. Their attempts to paint themselves as victims have largely fallen flat as more relatives learn the truth about their treatment of both their children. I heard they're considering moving to another state for a fresh start, which sounds eerily similar to their solution when I became inconvenient. I'm not sure if this is my final update on this situation. Life has a way of taking unexpected turns, as the past few months have clearly shown. What I do know is that I'm exactly where I need to be, with people who genuinely care about me. Aunt Patricia continues to be my anchor, and I'm grateful every day that she took in a troubled 7-year-old and gave him a real home. If there's one thing I've learned from all this, it's that family isn't defined by DNA. It's defined by who shows up, who stays, and who makes room in their heart, even when it's difficult. By that definition, Aunt Patricia is more family than my biological parents could ever be.